Hi, I'm Amanda Skelton, an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator, and today I'd like to show you how to make this card. So I've obviously got two different colourways here. Again, this is in the lead up to the launch of the new catalogue, so again I'm trying to use the new in colours. So that is Starry Sky, Parakeet Party, and then we've got Orchid Oasis, Tahitian Tide, and Sweet Sorbet. So I've used Sweet Sorbet here and I've used Tahitian Tide here, and then interleaved one of the other colours as well. So today I'm going to do the Starry Sky and Parakeet Party colours, so we can get rid of those. So we'll use those in a minute. And then the stamps and dies and the papers will be, and the embossing, I don't know if you can see embossing, it's like a fern embossing folder. This is all part of the Sun print suite. So if I just show you the catalogue here. So you get the papers, the embossing folder, the stamps and the dies. So that's the set we're going to use. So let me just show you the papers. So these are the Sun print papers. So you've got these beautiful colours here. And then you've got sort of neutrals and more sort of generic patterns on the back. Very good for, especially with the grey, really good for mail cards. You know, even though it's sort of like got a leaf on it, you know, I think that will be quite good for a mail. And then you've got leaves on the front as well. So that's what we're going to use. So on these samples, my coloured paper here, I've actually used the in colour papers. So these are the 6x6 papers. So you've got your 5 colours, and then you've got 4 patterns of each one. So you've got these 2 patterns here and these 2 patterns here in each of the 5 colours. So that's a really good set to get. So you know you're always going to have papers, pattern papers, to match your inks. Okay, so as I said, we're going to use the Sun print suite. So it's the bundle, which is the stamps and the dies, as well as the embossing folder, which is the Fern 3D embossing folder, and the papers I've just shown you. So that's the 4 things you get within the suite, as opposed to it just being the bundle, which is the stamps and the dies. But I think this will be a really good background for any sort of floral type card. So I think this will be a really useful and versatile one going forward. Okay, so that's the products we're going to use. I'm also going to use one of the matte dots as well, the in colour matte dots as well, just for this little sentiment. As you'll see in here, I've got this really useful label as part of the Sun prints, and I haven't used it yet, but there's this gorgeous wreath, which I think will be really good at Christmas, but also quite a good background for your flowers. So I'm dying to try a card with that one as well. So what we will need to make the card is, as always, half a piece of A4 white cardstock scored in half, and then you'll need a piece of coloured cardstock. So I'm going to use the Parakeet Party, and that needs to measure 4 inches by 5 5/8 of an inch to be your layer. And then you want a piece of white cardstock, which is 3 3/4 of an inch by 5.5 inches, and that's going to be your embossed sheet. And then you want some extra white card to stamp and die cut your images and your sentiment. And the other thing that you'll need is, oh, I've cut it the wrong size, look. I've done a 2 inches by 2 inches of designer series paper. Here, like I said, I've used the in colours, but I'm going to use this one for this because I'm going to do this colourway. So I think that will look quite nice there. What I'm going to do is I want to see if the 3 inches by 3 inches looks too big. If it does, I'm going to cut it down nearer the time, but I'll see if the bigger one looks okay. Okay, so the first thing to do is get some scrap card, well, I say scrap, but smaller pieces of card that you can use up. And first thing we'll do is we're going to ink and stamp our details, and then what we can do is we can die cut those at the same time that we're going to dry emboss the background card. So I'm going to do, so if we have a look on here, I'm going to do the large flower in the dark blue. I'm going to do the Starry Sky. I'm going to do the sort of whisper of leaf in the parakeet party, and I'm going to do this in gold. So one of the things that I wanted to show you on here, the last card I did, we used heat embossing to get a nice gold image. So what we're going to do on this one is we're going to use gilding flakes, so gilded leafing. So this is what it looks like. So we're going to use this on this. Now, to be honest, I've not used probably the best example of image to do this on, because it's quite intricate. It has just about worked, but when I did this with my ladies, it was quite difficult to do this. But when I go through that, I'll go through it later. So let's do all of our stamping first. So I've got my images. So I'm going to do the big image first, which is the flower. Really nice images. You get the sort of different shades in just one stamp, which is brilliant. And then I'm going to do the green on the sprig of grass, I suppose it is. So I'm going to do that there. Leave a little bit of space between. We are going to die cut them, but just leave a little bit of space. And then I'm going to do the sentiment as well. Now, let me just check the size of the sentiment. Just make sure it's wide enough to go on here. So it is. So I'm going to do my sentiment on here. Just leave enough space. Now, so I'm doing this in the starry sky. I'm just going to sort of centre it, leave enough space that you can die cut around it, and you can still get your, so you can position that where you want for it to be lined up as you want it to be. Okay, so we'll do those three first, and then we will emboss our folder. So using your normal set of plates, so your large plate, your white thin plate, and your two clear plates, as always for die cutting. Let's get my dies ready. So let's do this one first. You can always use washi tape to or post-it notes or something to keep your die in place when you're placing it on your image that you want to cut. But with practice, you should just be able to place it on top and it shouldn't move too much. Oops. Okay, so that's that first image done. And let's do the greenery. Looks about right there. There you go. That's quite nice because it cuts out the three pieces in the middle as well. Just make sure you get rid of those, otherwise you'll get that pattern on your next piece that you die cut. Okay. And then let's do our sentiment. Let's do it that way. Okay, just want to make sure it's straight and nicely lined up. So that should be everything we want to die cut. So that's nice and straight on there. Okay, so what we need to do now is we're going to take off, now which way did I do it? We're going to take off one of the white, the clear, sorry, take off the clear layer, and we're going to get our 3D embossing folder. Okay, and I'm going to get my top sheet of white card that we've already cut. And again, it'll always do an embossed and a debossed side. So you just want to place that in there. Always put your embossing folder in with the folded side first. Otherwise, sometimes if it gets out of kilter, it sometimes ruins that, that hinge. So, and then, so it is quite strong to go through. Let's say, so what we've done is we've taken out one of the clear layers. Okay. So now we have nearly finished with that. We'll use that once more in a minute for the gold leaf that we're going to do. So there we have it. There we've got the really nice image. That's the deboss, which actually is quite nice as well. And if you wanted to, you could rub over it with green or brown or something to make it pick out the detail. Okay, so that layer's done. Okay, so the next thing we want to do, have I got enough space on there? I think I probably have actually. So the next thing we're going to do is do the leaf. So we've got the blue leaf, we've got the sprig of green. I'm going to put that on there, something like that. And then we've got this leaf to do as well. So, 2 steps to this. So first thing we need to do is ink up using Versamark. So it's really sort of like quite a sticky sort of clear ink. Okay, so we're going to do that. Oh, actually, first thing to do before you even do that is use your embossing buddy and put that over the piece that you're going to stamp. It takes off sort of the static, it stops the powder that we're going to use from sticking. So I'm going to do that there. And because I've obviously used this for other things, you can just see the image there. It should be completely clear, but because I've used the stamp for other things. Okay, so then we're going to use this heat and stick powder. This is what's going to allow the gilding leaf to stick to this, because it won't stick like this at the moment. If you use embossing powder, then it just goes to a plaster-sized dry thing. This will leave it slightly tacky. So get a piece of paper underneath, a bit like you would if you were using glitter. Okay, and you can be quite generous with your powder. Oh, it's a bit lumpy, isn't it? Don't know why it's done that. I don't want those bits anyway. Okay, there you go. You can see where the glue has stuck. Okay, so we can get rid of the excess. Okay, now one tip: as soon as you've done the next step, you want to be doing your gilding straight away. So I've just got like a takeaway carton here that I use, that I can, so what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to cut off, in fact I might even do that now, I'm going to cut off this, and it will just allow me to put that in there. It just keeps it a bit contained really. It's not very good putting on paper. It seems to be very, very staticky actually. So I've got my heat gun here. It's a bit like a hairdryer but without the fan behind it. Okay, I'm going to take the lid off of this to get ready. So you can see the really big flakes here. So in the same way that it happens for the other heat embossing, it goes a different colour. So I'm just going to pour lots of gold leafing onto that. Okay, you're going to be putting it back in, and then I'm going to push it down with quite a stiff sort of paintbrush. Okay. So you'll have lots of excess and it will just look like a big clump to start with. So this is what I mean by this probably isn't the best image to use because it's a very delicate image. It works much better really with using this gold leafing, using a more gentle design, sorry, a more solid design. So what you want to do is you just want to work at it. Now we know the design is a leaf, so I'm going to work at it from the sides to bring the leafing off. Try not, once you've got the pattern, try not to go overwork it because then you will take off the gold leafing from the bits that should be stuck. Okay, you can see it's starting to come here, look, you can start to see. So if you sort of brush in between, okay, so just take a bit of working. See it starting to emerge, get in between the fronds of the fern. Okay, so just using a normal brush. I can see that there's quite a big, oh, there you go, that's better. I could see that there was quite a big leaf left on top. Don't know if you can see that, that's moving, look. So you can work at it as much as you want, but be careful not to take off too much of the so if you get it on the edge, it just is enough of a brush. So I could tell that that was probably overdone. And it just allows you to get the definition between the different leaves. Okay, so I'm probably going to leave it there. It's enough to see that it's the leaf, look. That's quite pretty, isn't it? So if you can see that. Gives it a little bit more texture. So I shall sort this out in a minute. So a good thing about this is you can just put the lid on. Keeps it all contained. And I can sort that out in a minute. We haven't got too much left over outside of that either. So, okay, so I'm just going to get rid of that. So I now want to die cut that because there's a die for that shape as well. So let's use this one, and we will need all the layers again on this one. Okay, so I'm just going to place that on like that. That looks pretty good actually. Put that on straight. Oh, it moved, but the actual die cut didn't move. Just the layer on top. And then we have quite a pretty leaf. Like I said, it's probably not the best image to try, especially if you first go, because it really is quite a delicate image. You need to work out how it works So if I just show you, so I did this piece before, so I've just done a solid bank here, and that sort of comes out a bit better really. And I've just used double-sided tape for this. I've just done lines, literally lines of double-sided tape, and I'll use that as almost like a sort of like a spine at the other side really. So that sort of worked a bit better, being a solid section. Okay, so you finish with that. And if you want to, you can still keep working at it if you want to. So you just get your bristles of the brush and it just takes off the excess and just makes it a bit more of a defined. There you go. That's good enough for me. Okay, so now we have everything we need. So we have our base. You can burnish that if you want to. We have our coloured layer. It's up to you which way. Is there really a right way and a wrong way? Not particularly. But it's up to you if you want to use the embossed or the debossed. I'm going to use the embossed side. Now then, what we're going to do about this. Is it going to look too big? I think it probably is, to be honest. And then I'm just going to maybe I'll put that on the top. Maybe it won't if I do it like that. Maybe that will be okay. Yes. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. So now it's just about a case of putting it all together. So for my layers, I normally use my double-sided tape. Okay, so you just want to get that centered and straight. And then your embossed layer. Like I said, you can use a blending brush with some ink on it to get a bit of detail and colour on here, but I just liked how clean and fresh this looked. So I think that's going to go there. That's going to go. So I'm going to put these up a little bit higher, I think, because maybe I'll put that one down a little bit lower. And these will come up a little bit higher, I think, just so that I'm going to make these come together, because then I'm just going to go over that. I'm just going to hide that with the sentiment. And that is going to go under there as well. Yes, that will look fine. So again, I'm going to glue. Just be careful when you're gluing things on top of an embossed image. This isn't too bad, it's not too raised, but sometimes you might stick something and it doesn't quite stick because it only attaches to some sections of the card underneath it. Okay, so you can use liquid glue if you want, but I'm just going to use the double-sided again. I'm going to put this up as high as I can, and then I'm going to put this one on. I said I'm going to overlap the leaves, the stems, and this one I'm hopefully going to get just under here. Well, that looks quite nice and overlapping that look. There we go. And I don't mind even if it doesn't really stick all the whole way. I quite like that to give it a bit of dimension. I'm going to raise this up a bit, and it's just going to go over there. And I'm going to raise it up with sticky pads. And I think we'll probably need 3 sections, so I'm just going to cut these in half. One either side. middle. There you go. And then, like I said, I'm just gonna, oh, stuck to my finger. I'm just gonna put this so that it just hides where the stems are, just so that they could look like they're coming out of the sentiment. Just give that a gentle press down. And the only thing left to do then is to use these beautiful in colour matte dots. As you can see, I've used the red one here and the blue one on here. So I think I might do green because it will just bring it in with the green background. So they are pre-sticky, and I'm going to use one of the big dots. Oh, use one of the big dots, I think. Oh, come here. Right, I'm going to use my picker tool with me sticky on the end. There you go, that works. I've got a funny feeling the sticky, I can see actually, I don't know if you can see, but the sticky has stayed on. So what I'm going to do, if you find that, put it the right way again so I can pick it up in a minute. Okay, I'm just going to put a little glue dot. She says if the glue will actually come out. Oh, I'm doing well today, aren't I? Right, let's try this one. There you go. So I'm just going to put a little glue dot there, because I can see that the double-sided bit stayed on there. And then I'm just going to pick that up and put it on there, and that'll stick it for me. Like I said, these are double-sided. It's only that one that's come off, which is a bit bizarre. But anyway, that's what happens with it. So there we have it. A really nice card using the Sun Print Suite, and using the new in colours, and the dots. So yes, so very nice card, really nice and floral, and really nice to use this paper as well. So I think I'm going to have a lot of fun using these papers with this design. Hope you've enjoyed it. As always, you can find my Stampin' Up website at www.amandascraftedcards.stampingup.net. You can see the products on there. These products won't be available until the 3rd of May, which is when the new catalogue goes live. Let me just give you a sneak peek, which is this one here. This is the new catalogue. Got lots of goodies in it. And I hope you enjoy it. And I shall speak to you later. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.